Had a lot of new skiers come in, and a lot of people have been asking us questions about what to do with their skis, how to care for them, and especially how to wax. So today I've come to Nipika Mountain Resort, and we're going to talk to Lyle Wilson about care of your new skis and the proper way to wax them.
Lyle Wilson, and I'm going to explain to you today glide waxing for cross-country skis. And glide waxing is simply what's done to increase the speed that a ski glides over the snow by reducing the friction between the plastic base and the snow crystals that you're gliding over. PTEX bases are actually quite porous, and there's literally air holes. It's like at a microscopic level, it's kind of like a sponge. So when we apply glide waxes, we actually are going to heat the wax, and what melts into the base and fills those porous spaces in the plastic is what actually helps lubricate the ski and make the surface more friction-free when it's gliding over the snow, so you spend less energy and you go a little faster. The glide waxes are color-coded, and they're color-coded to match the hardness and brittleness of snow crystals at different temperature ranges. So first thing you need to do when you're picking up a glide wax is look at the temperature range and what temperature it is that you're glide waxing for. So the blue is the colder, it's -5 to -10. Purple is next in the sequence, -2 to -8. Then we go up to red, which is -4 to +4, and yellow for the spring days, or the Chinooks, 0 to +10. This goes from progressively harder to very soft, and this works with a lot more moisture than the colder ones. So we're going to pick something in the middle of the range, and probably for the Columbia Valley in this region, this would probably be the first one I would put in my resources, because that's pretty much the average temperature we work with is in the blue and purple range. But purple is my go-to glider. The other things you need to do glide waxing is these little clister spatulas are handy. I pull them out when I buy a clister. I take these out and I keep them in my wax box separately, because I have to clean the groove on the ski once I've applied the glide wax. I also use a thick plastic scraper, and it's important these are thick enough they don't bend. And that's what I scrape the excess wax off with. And I do have a metal putty knife, but I'll give you a warning. You can scratch the base of your ski if you don't use that knife properly. When you finish the glide waxing, you brush the excess wax off with a brush, and we have a nylon brush and horsehair and coarse brass brush, depending on how warm or cold the snow is. The warmer the snow, the more aggressively you brush with a brass brush, as for a nylon brush for our purple wax that we're going to put on. You do need to use heat. So we have a waxing iron, and I know a lot of people go to the thrift shop and buy a $5 iron. It's important that you can regulate the temperature on the iron, because an iron put down that's too hot on the bare plastic will actually scald and sear the surface of the base, and so it won't take wax as well as it should. So the proper way to use an iron is you never put the iron on the plastic without wax on the surface. So I put my block of wax against the iron, and you see a nice bead of wax is just dropping down onto the base of the ski, and I run all the way up one glide surface. And this is a skate ski we're doing today, so I do the entire surface. On a classic ski, you would not put glide wax ever into the middle third of the ski that's underneath your binding and your foot. That's the wax pocket, and you only use kick waxes on that part. But because we're doing a skate ski, so now that I put wax evenly over the whole length of the ski, when I do lay the iron down, it's gliding over a buffer surface of wax, not grinding down and scalding the surface of the plastic. You never, ever, ever stop the iron from moving when it's sitting on the base of a ski. So 2 golden rules. You never put an iron on a bare plastic base, and you never stop it from moving. And if I find an area that's a little bit thin on wax, I just put a few more drops in place and add more wax. Now, it's the wax that's going into the plastic that I'm counting on. So this heating process is very important because it's doing 2 things. It melts the wax into a nice liquid state where it penetrates into the porous areas of our plastic, but it's also heating up and expanding the plastic so those porous areas are actually bigger and can take on more wax. So, and the length of time, you want to go over the whole length of the ski each time. Don't just work on one part of the ski at once, or what will happen is you'll overheat that part of the ski. And many times I've seen inexperienced waxers literally heat up a ski to the point where the glues that hold the different layers together start to come apart, or you bubble and boil the PTEX base and your ski's basically ruined. So keep moving over the whole length of the ski, but take your time with this heating process and melt the wax down for a good few minutes so that you're getting full penetration of the wax into the plastic. Now, once I'm done with the heating process and you spend less time at the tip of the tail or in the tail of the ski, where the ski is thinner, the heat is going to have a bigger effect on it. So you have a bigger chance of ruining your base at the tail and at the tip than you do in the middle, where all this material absorbs the heat. So be careful that you don't overheat the ends of your skis. Now, while the wax is still nice and soft, I simply go all the way down and clean out my groove. And that groove is in the skis simply to have it. It's like a keel on a sailboat. That's what keeps the ski running straight in the snow. And I take at an angle, I take my scraper along the edge of the ski because wax has blobbed over the edge, and I simply clean off each edge of my ski using the scraper, and I just bevel it. I put a little bit of an angle. I don't put that much pressure on it, but see, I've dripped a little down the side, so I take that off, and I clean up the edge, and then I let the ski sit until the wax is cooled down pretty much to room temperature. So you could go to this stage with one ski, take it off the form, put your second ski on, do the same thing, and by the time you're finished applying the wax, this ski will be cool enough to then scrape and brush. So we'll just give it another half a second, and then what we do is we take our plastic scraper and starting at one end of the ski, and it does not matter, tip or tail, you don't have to go in the direction the ski travels, but I start to scrape the excess wax off the surface of the ski. Now notice I'm running my fingers carefully down the side of the ski, and that just keeps my scraper from veering off and causing a scratch across my ski. If I push too hard and I cut across the ski, I can scratch the ski and put a blemish in my base. So what I do is I keep scraping like this until I'm not getting any more wax off the ski. Okay, so no more wax is coming off. Now I take one of my brushes and in the direction of the ski, I vigorously brush. And what I'm doing here is a ski base isn't 100% perfectly smooth. It actually has a structure. And if you think of it sort of like an alligator skin or it's got little irregularities, and that actually makes the ski run faster. Because if the ski was perfectly smooth like a pane of glass, then what happens is you get something called suction. And suction holds the snow on the ski. So what a ski has is a little microscopic texture that allows a little bit of air between the snow and the ski, and that keeps the ski running freely. And so the brush simply takes the wax out of those little irregularities, those little microscopic irregularities, and opens up the structure of the base so you don't get this suction under your ski. And that's really all there is to glide waxing. Again, different colors or different hardnesses of glide wax in order to match the texture of snow at different temperatures. In a skate ski, you do the entire ski. In a classic ski, you would leave from the heel plate under your heel to about the same distance forward as your toe. So your foot is the back half of the wax pocket, go the same distance forward, and you wouldn't glide wax that section of the ski on any classic ski. You have to use heat. We never use an open flame on the base of a ski. A lot of people have propane torches and they think they should heat up these waxes with that, but the temperature at the tip of that little blue flame is about 2,000 degrees. So if it hits the bare plastic on the base of your ski, you've just scalded the ski and it won't take wax as well as it should. So use a proper waxing iron. Put the wax onto the ski without putting the iron. I just take one little tiny corner of the iron and it touches the ski as I bleed my wax on. So not much heat is transferring from that iron onto the base. And then you only apply heat once you've got a layer of wax to absorb the heat and be a buffer between the iron and the plastic. And then scrape it, clean the groove, and brush it, and your ski's ready to rip. That's glide waxing.